Jumpin In, served to you by the Wine Cellar.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And here we are, snap, crackle and pop amongst other things. It is Saturday night. It is 9 o'clock. It's the 5th of November. It is the best in modern and contemporary jazz with a bang with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show, and what a cracker it is. Firecracker, obviously. And with our own usual brand, fire brand, obviously, of sparkling wit, we rake over the coals and fan the flames with a hot selection of the best in modern and contemporary jazz in our Bonfire Night special. So, H, what has spun like a pinwheel on your turntable? Although, to be fair, they usually get stuck and don't go around at all, do they? And rocketed to the top of your small selection box, and what's flipped and flopped and got on your safety wick?
Yeah, you don't get flip-flops anymore, do you?
No,
far too dangerous.
sadly not.
Right, I've got some flames, I think. I've got some smoke getting in my eyes and the phoenix.
And from me, when it all goes wrong, there's a proliferation of alliteration. We remember, but first, we light the Blue Toucher taper with Spirits of Fire from Michael Garrick.
customs and creeds stem from the archangel seeds, lend identity. God and planetary with an archangel's decree.
Spirits of Fire from Michael Garrick and the Jazz Britannia Orchestra, taken from Children in Time, released back in 2005. And as we heard right at the end there, the recording reunited Garrick with Norma Winston for the first time in 33 years. Described by Michael as a kind of space odyssey, he took his inspiration from the texts of the Book of Genesis and the Eucharist and one of his own writings. And other than Norma Winston, he put together a great band, and we heard solos from one of his sons, Gabriel Garrick, on trumpet on that track, along with Jamie Anderson on tenor, and a fine solo from Dominic Ashworth on guitar. And as you're waiting for the sausage rolls to appear, perhaps a nip of Spirits of Fire would also help to keep the cold out.
If it was cold, I mean, it's ridiculously warm, isn't it, for bonfire night? People will be having bonfires in their T-shirts. It is Chris and H with you, our bonfire special here on Jumpin In. And what do you need for bonfires? Well, as Chris said, the sausages, of course, maybe baked potatoes, a fire, of course. You sit around there. What happens? What always happens? Smoke gets in your eyes. Terrific stuff. Keith Jarrett and the Standards Trio in their prime, as it were. Sadly, no more, of course. So we lost Gary Peacock a year or so back. Keith himself is still around, but of course has retired from performing altogether. Jack DeJohnette, the one who is still out there in his 80s now, I think, and still out there playing at a pretty good level, I reckon. But there they were back in the 1980s. 1989 to be exact, back end of the 80s, with their tribute album where standards all dedicated to individual artists. That was, of course, Smoke Gets In Your Eyes, the wonderful Kern tune, dedicated, or with a tribute on this particular case, to Coleman Hawkins. And it always happens to you have a bonfire, you stand around and you always go inside, don't you? And the whole house stinks of smoke.
Well, next from me, the classic rookie error when lighting a damp bonfire. Never throw petrol on it or it could backfire. Here's the Rosario Giuliano Quintet. Getting up to temperature all right. That was Backfire from Alto Man, Rosario Giuliani. I don't know what's happened to him. Haven't heard any new ones from him for a while.
Yeah, it's such a great player.
He does have a huge catalogue, so he's obviously still busy. And what a swinging band that was, taken from his 2005 quintet release, Anything Else. We heard Flavio Boltro on trumpet, Dado Moroni on piano, and he's another one who's a bit conscious of the old Jarrett style in the background when he plays his solos. We caught him once at Southport Jazz Festival, if you remember. And what a great and largely unrecognised player he is. Remy Vignolo on bass and Benjamin Hennock, if that rings a bell, on the drums. He, of the band we have featured a number of times, Prism. And of course, Rosario Giuliani on sax.
Classic stuff, a real swinger that one, yeah, great. Good calm music that amongst our good Friday night music, as you say. Saturday night, in this case, just the thing to get your firework party going, I'd have thought. And what do you need to get your bonfire going? Well, you need to light my fire.
Jumpin In with the Wine Cellar, stockist of the largest range of wines, beers, spirits and cocktails on the island.
Still sounding good after 41 years, I think that is now. 1981, and one of my favourite John Sermon albums, The Amazing Adventures of Simon Simon. The Phoenix rising from the flames, of course. Phoenix and the Fire were the second outing there for the wonderful Jack DeJohnette in his prime on the drums. And before that, we had Bansangu Orchestra, another project. Paul Booth, as we were saying, we're listening to it, the multi-instrumentalist and sort of project director, and goodness knows how many outings he's got with his wonderful band there, with all sorts of people, including one of the Fishwicks, Steve Fishwick on trumpet and flugelhorn, and Tristan Banks on drums. Also notice Giorgio Cerci on guitar and Oud on one of those tracks. And we heard Light My Fire. He says, in 1968, I decided to arrange a song originally for the Jazz Jamaica All-Stars Big Band. 34 years later, a pleasurable labour of love, he said. I've now adapted it for the Bansangu for a studio album, and I think it's to great effect. I'd agree with them there. And if you're wondering about Bansangu, apparently it was a name given to him by Airto, I believe, where he heard the band and said, "Yay, the Bansangu."
Yes. The band sounded good indeed, as we found out later. But yeah, Paul Booth, great, his own projects under his own name, The Secret Sessions, Hoop Sessions, Bansangu, Patchwork, et al. But now that the evening is getting to that stage when the fire's dying down and you can stand around the bonfire for the last sparkler with the kids before going home, and you know you left the sparklers in your bag while you lit the fireworks, only now mysteriously you can't find them, and the man standing next to you and his 4 children all have sparklers. Here's Light a Fire, Fight a Liar. Light a Fire, Fight a Liar from Tory Brunberg's fantastic 2015 album Slow Snow on the Act label. If you look up Norwegian jazz saxophonists on Wikipedia, you'll find some 68 names listed. And whilst old Tory may not be as well known as Jan Gabarek or perhaps Marius Neset, with over 30 years in the business and regular recordings and tours with Tord Gustafsson, Manu Katché, Matthias Eick, or indeed with Errol Anderson on Mascalero, or live with Pat Metheny at the Mulder Jazz Festival, there is no denying his pedigree. And for me, Slow Snow is one of his best, with all original compositions and a great quartet too. Ivan Dar sat on guitars and electronics, Sina Raknes on bass, and Per Odver Johansson on drums and electronics, and of course Tory Brunberg on sax.
This is Jane Ara Bloom, and you're listening to Jumpin' In with Chris and H on Manx Radio.
You are indeed, and again, we're having our bonfire special. It is that sausage time overnight, I suppose, isn't it? Sausage roll, baked potato, marshmallow. No, I never did the marshmallows. Right. How fire was made? There's the question. This is Binker and Moses. alive in the East, Binker and Moses. So we're talking to Binker Golding only the other week here on Jumpin In, of course, along with the the enfant terrible of modern jazz, free jazz, whatever you like, in the UK and elsewhere for that matter. Evan Parker, unmistakable, I think, and Byron Walden also. Byron Wallen, I beg your pardon. Byron Wallen, of course, also contributing on trumpet. Pretty free in some places, relatively free there, but I've actually quite enjoyed that one. I haven't heard it for quite a while. And yeah, it was How Fire Was Made.
Well, as the embers flicker and dart and the swirling sparks balletically rise and the flashes and bangs retire for another year, we just got time to leave you with a track from the LeBeouf Brothers' 2011 release, In Praise of Shadows. Now, we have featured saxophonist Remy a number of times with his great big band releases before, and indeed on this album with his keyboard player brother Pascal, and a great band including Mike Ruby on tenor, Linda May Han O on bass, also she's appearing at the London Jazz Festival, Henry Cole at the drums, Nia Felder on guitar, Adria LeBeouf on backing vocals, and a string quartet thrown in for good measure. Here's hoping as you head for the pillow we can leave you with Fire Dancing Dreams. See you next week for another banger of a show. Take care.
Look after yourselves. Don't set fire to anything. We wouldn't.
Bye for now.
Thank you.